So this is my paradise. So I've been collecting bromeliads since 2007. When I first started gardening, it was focused mainly on gingers and bromeliads. And so, I mean, this is what I have right now, and some more inside. They're only outside because I've run out of space, and also because these have grown so big, right? That the only place that I could put them was here. Plus, you notice that a lot of them actually take full sun to bring out their full potential. Big, bright colors like that. Amongst bromeliads here, you have different genus. You have Eggmias, you have Neoregelius, and then you have the big ones there, Alcantarius. So these are huge. It's one of the largest in the family of bromeliads. Most of them are found mainly in South America, mainly in Brazil. I think one of the things that people don't like about bromeliads is the fact that they store water. So I think with dengue and all that, right? There are people who like the plants, but then they're quite hesitant to keep them. But actually, what we found in bromeliad growers is you don't really find mosquitoes trapped within the leaf axils. Partly because we believe that there is a chemical compound that actually deters mosquitoes from breeding. Mosquitoes like clean water, right? But there's a buildup of algae and debris, and mosquitoes don't like that. Just to take special precaution, we use mosquito granules like our bait. We sprinkle them. So yeah, I mean, mainly more bromeliads, different types. So a lot of them are epiphytes in nature, and that's why I tie them to trees. And they're very easy. You can tie them to even a fence and they would grow. Only a few genus like Alcantarius are actually terrestrial. So I'll show you other types of bromeliads that are completely different from these. So on your left here, you can see these are also bromeliads, right? These are what we call terrestrial xeric type. Xeric meaning they don't really need a lot of water. They are more found in very dry, mountainous, desert sort of areas. So their look is also very different from what you've seen outside. They're also a lot harder. They have these things called trichomes. You can see the powdery stuff. That helps to reflect light. So what you see here are mainly Dickeas, Hecteas, Autophytums. They all come in really strange shapes, right? Like this one. This is how it looks, right? Compared to usual ones like that, where it has a more rosette form. This one is more unusual, right? Its form is like this. Normally, if you see it spiking like that, you think it's about to flower, but not for this one. This one, it looks like that. So I kind of like plants that are sharp and spiny and kind of dangerous looking. I don't know, I've always been fascinated with sort of dangerous looking plants. You see that I've got strange stuff like that. This is a Decaia madagascariensis. It's from Madagascar. It's the only species in the genus, so there's only one plant. I got this from Thailand in 2016. It was much smaller and has since grown quite a bit. This one is a very unique one. It's from Mexico. It's called Hectea lanata. Why this is quite close to my heart is because when it first arrived, it was quite a small plant. And then when I potted it, nothing happened, and it started to shrivel and get smaller and even smaller. And I thought it was, basically about to die. So I thought, I'm going to root it in water, see what happens. It's about to die anyway, so why not just see what happens? So I literally put it over a jar, had the base of the tip just touching the water, and there was no roots. And within a week, a little root appeared. And then over time, more roots appeared. And then soon the whole jar was basically roots. And the plant just came back to life. So it's very interesting, because it is a, xeric desert kind of plant. but yet, it's one of those success stories where you can actually try rooting in water if all else fails. Yeah. So this is kind of like the dry section. I have two sections, one here and one at the back. Here gets full sun, so I sort of put all my, the plants that really like drier, hot conditions. So it's really a mixed bag. I mean, you've got euphorbias like this. This is quite a rare one, right? And then you've got behind, you see right at the back, the thorny ones. Those are called Aroids, and they can only be found in Madagascar, and I think there are about 6 species around. But they thrive in our weather, and the Botanic Gardens has them growing in the ground as well. So those are quite cool. I also like collecting trees, tree seedlings and trees, and these are Xeric trees, so they don't really need a lot of water. So like this one, Boswellias, these are found in, mainly in the Arabian Peninsula, in places like Socotra, Yemen, Comiforas like this, found mainly in Africa. This is a nice one. This is called Boswellia socotrana because it's from Socotra. And all these plants are related, basically part of the Frankincense family. So if you touch the leaves or the bark, or if you cut it, you can smell the smell of frankincense. So this is a nice species of Dickia. It's called Dickia goringia. The unique thing about this species is when it pups like this, it produces pups in like all directions. They kind of shoot out, and it has a really nice form and a really nice color. And because of its form, they are very commonly used for hybridization. So a lot of hybridists will sort of use them and create new plants. A good example will be this one. Right, so this is a hybrid. It's called Dickia megalodon because of its sharp sort of teeth. Right. And then this is the variegated version of what you saw there. So it's a variegated spot of that one. So again, it's kind of unique. And what's unique about this is different times of the year sort of changes color. Now you see the orange, you see a bit of the stripes, and then other times of the year it just turns to a dull sort of maroon. When you keep bromeliads, you also keep kind of air plants because they are also bromeliads. So there are basically 3 sort of subgroups within the whole bromeliad family. So Tillandsia forms one of that subgroups. Yep. Then I also moved on to cycads, right? So you've seen some here. I like them because for their sort of blue hue, right? And I was quite hesitant because I didn't know if these plants would survive in the tropics because they do come from Africa, mainly in the south. And South African plants, especially for euphorbias, can be quite tricky to grow in our sort of climate. But for some reason, I think the cycads are more hardy and more variable, and they seem to take, okay sort of to our weather, even with the rains. Sometimes I've left it out, for during the wet season, like last December, because I was away, and they were out for 2 weeks, and it was raining and raining every day, and I came back and they're still alive. So the important thing, I think, is to use clay pots for air circulation, and then also use very loose media. They don't really need too much of a soil-based media. I think they can do with like pumice and lava rock. So there's more here. But the problem with cycads is they are really expensive to buy and to import. So I have a guy in Thailand who is a CITES certified seller, because only CITES certified sellers are allowed to ship these plants. Otherwise, it's illegal. But this guy is good because he grows everything from seed. And he's probably one of maybe a handful of people who actually have that certification to do it. Here's an interesting one that sometimes I feature on the IG page. So this is also a bromeliad. It's a Cryptanthus. The common name for Cryptanthus is earth star. So they're normally found growing on the ground like these. So this is what a normal Cryptanthus would look like. Very foliage, very colorful. And then you have this that looks more like a Dickia. Very dry, very xeric. So that's what's very unique and what I like about this is because, of its sort of form and texture. But the funny thing, it looks like it's a dry plant, but I grow it like a tropical plant. So, I basically water it every day. And in fact, if you don't water it, it will dry up and it will shrivel. This is an interesting one as well. I posted this on IG today. So it's a neophytum supernova, so very aptly named because it's because of its form. So this is a hybrid, but very hardy, grows in full sun. You can give it as much water as you want, and yeah, against the light, it's sort of kind of nice. Then you have the Platyceriums. So most of my Platyceriums are here and behind you. So I've created sort of like a corridor. I find that most of them are fairly easy. Some can be a little bit more finicky in terms of the watering requirements and also the temperature. So, there are some where they've just completely either gone dormant or just gone, like this one here. And then there's some like these that, I got as very young plants and have grown quite a lot. But yeah, I like it because of its, again, because of its form, because of its leaf shape, the leaf texture. So coming back to Costas, I actually hybridized and registered 2 plants. So this is one of them. It has been a few years already since I did it, and basically I use the same seed parent for both hybrids, and I crossed it with something else that I had that happened to be flowering. So this is one of them, and I've called this Sweet Legs. It's named after my first dog that died. It has an orange flower, and then over time that cone, how Costas flowers look like, it's got a cone. The cone just elongates and you get a pretty nice orange cone. So it sort of reminds me of his tail. So yeah, this is one of them. This is the other one. Unfortunately got entangled with the jade vine. So this tall one here is called Julie's Kiss. Julie's the name of my mom, so I named it after her. And this one has a very interesting red cone with sort of orange flowers. So it's an interesting combination because you don't normally see red and orange together on a flower. So this one happens to have a red cone and orange flower because the orange flower comes from the seed parent and the red cone came from the pollen parent. It took me many years to get it to maturity. The problem with Costas is they're not free flowering. So when they do flower, then you're lucky, and otherwise they're just mainly grown for their foliage. And you can see why I like it, because I really like that spiraling sort of form and their leaves, and all of them have different sort of looks and textures. So this one is more matte in its appearance. The leaf is also a bit rubbery. And this one, when you touch it, the leaf is a bit furry. Yeah. Trees are important in this garden because I need the trees to grow all my epiphytes. So I've basically put in Bromeliads and Platyceriums and Aroids, Philodendron, and I sort of cram as many as I can, because in nature that's what it's like. You don't find just one epiphyte on one tree. They are sort of all clustered together. And that's the sort of the look I'm trying to go for as well. So you can see that there are probably 3 types of Aroids, right? 2 Bromeliads, 2 Platyceriums, 1 orchid. This is one of my first Aroids I got from Sean at Green Fingers. It's a Pastazanum. So I got it. It's a really small plant. Put it on the ground, and then this is what it ended up. This is a Schefflera elegantissima. I hate long names because it's a mouthful, but it's a Schefflera. It's a more common one, but why I got this was because I saw its mature form in Gardens by the Bay, where the leaves are a lot thicker, they're not so congested, and it looked really nice. And I like leaves that have this kind of form. Likewise for this, it's also another Schefflera. This one I got from Sindo, right? It's, according to the seller and according to the checks I've done, it's an Actinophylla nova. So it's really unique because of its shape. So as we move towards the back of the garden, you see it's more of the gingers, more of the foliage. So here it's all mainly gingers along the way. This is meant to be a blue Javan banana that I got from this guy called Andy. I bought it as a really small plant last year at GDO, and this is now this giant, massive thing. I'm hoping it will fruit one day. It's another ginger that's flowering. So it's a Tapinochylos. So it's another genus that's related to the Costas. There are quite a few species within this genus, and they have different colors. So some have black, some produce their cones at the top. There's one densum that produces a yellow cone. So this is where I've keep all the agaves and my aloes and my euphorbias and all my strange, plants from Africa and the Arabian Peninsula. Right, so they're quite unique. This one, yeah, the leaves has dropped off, but it's a Mexican plant, and I like it because again it's got this interesting sort of form with its trunk. Then my Sansevieras. These also I've grown for many years. So this place gets a lot of morning sun all the way to midday, and then by 2 it becomes like that. The sun gets blocked. But the morning sun is good enough for it. But ideally it should be outside because I think they can take a lot more. So this is my paradise. So yeah, I mean, for me, why journey to paradise is because I think gardening it's a journey for me, right? Because it's about documenting and experiencing, different stages of gardening and plant collecting. So, yeah, I mean, for me, I think everything is a sort of a journey. And I think paradise is subjective. For me, it's having a garden that I can sort of change and evolve over time. So, I mean, you've seen all of this was grass. There were no trees when I moved in. It was just all grass. Along the way, when I started planting trees, it was still very lush because you get a lot of sun. And then as the trees grew, you cut out the sun, and a lot of plants that need full sun have to be moved out because it's just not ideal. And then what you put in place are understory plants, and over time it creates a microclimate, and then it becomes like this, sort of natural. So what I've done is I've kind of created a path around so you can follow me. So these are also cycads. These ones are found mainly in Asia, and they're more tropical in nature. That's why I put them in this setting. And yeah, I mean, I basically attached Aroids to whatever trees and palm trees that I can find. And the intention is to really just let them climb. Right, so, Jose Boano. So this is a Costas hybrid called Mellow Yellow. Yeah, it's not flowering today, probably tomorrow, but it's a nice orange, yellow-orange sort of flower. And another. And then this one It's an interesting one. It's called double action, Costas double action. So this is created by a Thai hybridizer called Anup, and he called it double action because it flowers as a basal inflorescence, but it can also flower at the end, like this one. See how it's about to flower? Yeah. So that's why I call it double action, I think. I don't think many people grow as many Costas as I do. So, you know, in terms of the garden, you see a lot of it's just Costas growing everywhere, right? Because I like the fact that they are very good fillers, right? And again, they have different shapes, different colors. Some have a darker underside. This is the Philodendron Jopii. This is, I mean, considered rare and expensive because it's not really found in nature anymore. It's supposed to be extinct. But yeah, you can find it in collections, and you know, if you find the right collectors, they will sell it to you. So I got this from Sean. It's a 2-leaf plant, and I really wanted to get it big fast. And the only way you can do it is to either give it a pole or you give it a real tree. So what I've done is, you know, I've sort of given it a real tree, and it's taken off. Right, a little bit like this one as well, Paraiso Verde. It's also taking off, and you can imagine this just going up. So this is the last part of the tour, and it's the Arrowhead House. This structure has always been here when I moved. I moved in knowing that I needed some sort of like a greenhouse or something like that. So before Aroids, it was used for succulents, because I needed a shelter to keep it dry. But as the trees started growing, it cut out a lot of the light. I only get morning sun, it was not enough for the succulents. And also, even though it's got shelter, succulents needs pretty good like ventilation. Otherwise, you know, they develop, you know, they get pests, they get weak. So I found that it wasn't the right place, so I stopped growing succulents in this area. And I left it kind of vacant until I got into this whole Aroid thingy. And then I realized, hey, you know, maybe this is okay for Aroids. But what I've done is I installed the misting sort of system you can see up there. So what I do is I switch it on twice a day, once in the morning and then once in the afternoon, like about now, just to keep the temperature down and to keep the humidity and moisture levels there. I think they enjoy it here. Yeah. So it's pretty dark now because the sun's blocked, but in the morning here it's really bright because the sun just comes right through this. In the end of the day, everything you see is kind of an, you know, the eclectic mix is also because it's so personal, right? It's based on the type of plants that you like, and you sort of mix and match. You know, you mix Cycads together with gingers and Bromeliads, and you sort of find that harmonious blend. And yeah, I mean, that's if it makes you happy.